It's really important as we move past the latest wave of Omicron deaths and infections to pay a lot of attention to the other areas of life and society that the pandemic has had a big toll on. And what we found was that the pandemic has disproportionately affected women when it comes to employment loss, to income loss, to increased perceptions of gender-based violence, and also with regards to education and who is returning to school compared to who's dropping out of school.
Our study finds that the indirect effects of the COVID-19 pandemic threatens to reverse progress towards gender equality, primarily by widening gender gaps that already existed pre-pandemic. Women were, for example, disproportionately affected by employment loss and increases in unpaid duties throughout the entire pandemic in every world region. Based on previous crises, it's also likely that men will be hit hard at higher rates than women, and in combination this can result in severe implications for long-term income and career progression for women globally.
From what we know, we are quite concerned that as societies and schools go back to normal, girls will be returning to education at a lower rate compared to boys. This happened after previous crisis, and there are some indications that it is happening again as a result of COVID school closures. And it is really important that societies and governments prioritize incentivizing girls going back to school and returning to education now that schools are reopening again.
Reliable data on safety and violence is uniquely difficult to collect. Yet, in our study, we find that women were more likely than men to perceive gender-based violence as having increased during the COVID-19 pandemic, with the highest rates reported by women in Latin America and the Caribbean, high-income nations, and in Sub-Saharan Africa. What we want to highlight in here is that there is critical need for better evidence and that resources should be allocated to empower women and girls and address this important problem.
We're hoping that policymakers will look at the most important areas of society and life that have been affected by COVID with respect to gender disparities in their own country and prioritize what they should be addressing first.